So the question today is, I want to ask you a question, Duran Rider. When dealing with morbidly and super obese clients, do you not find that since they have a huge surplus of calories stored in their body fat, that it makes more sense to use those calories up first to establish a healthy body fat ratio before promoting the consumption of a high calorie, high carbohydrate, fruit-based diet? Okay, that's a good question. It's a very common question. So for those who don't know, that we prescribe on our website, 30bananasdaily.com, we prescribe a high calorie diet. We never prescribe low calorie diets. The only time you should eat low calories is if you're sick, you can't eat, you've got a fever or something. That makes sense. But if you want to drop the body blubber, never cut your calories. Once you cut your calories, you can't train properly. It's fact. Your motivation goes out the door. And what keeps people trim for life is being fit. I don't say people are fat. I say people are just out of shape, and nobody got in shape by cutting their carbohydrate intake back. Sure, you got a few people at the gym, they go on a high protein diet and drink heaps of Red Bull, use heaps of ECA stackers, and then they drop a few pounds, then you never see them again. And when you do see them, they're like 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds, or kilograms heavier than they were, and it's sad. So what I promote, what I recommend I judge by results, not by theory. The weight loss industry says, cut your calories, calories in, calories out. It's not true. Because if someone ate 3,000 calories of bananas and dates, they're going to look, feel, and perform different and have better health than someone who ate 3,000 calories from, cow's flesh, eggs, bovine mammary excretion, and donuts. So calories aren't calories. Yes, we need calories, but to compare calories with calories, it's not that clear cut. So we do recommend a high calorie diet. So now you're probably really confused. Alright, let's simplify it even more. If you're big, really big, don't cut your calories, because you need a lot of calories to haul that extra weight around every day. You know what I mean? Like, when I carry my bicycle trailer up a hill, I chew up a lot more calories than if I'm just riding a bike with no trailer. So if someone's heavy and they go into the gym, or they're walking around the block, or they're hanging out with the kids, or pushing a pram, or even pushing a trolley, they need more carbohydrate calories so they can continue this lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's not about obtaining results, it's about sustaining results. You know what I mean? It's about sustaining results. So I recommend people who are really big, or anybody for that matter, eat a high calorie diet and start living the active lifestyle today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not gonna, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Today, right now, right here, while you're talking, do some cleaning, or pick something up, or do things, or when you finish watching this, go do something, chase your kids around, or go for a walk on the block, or walk the dog, or do some garden duties, or whatever. There's like these mosquitoes, they're always on my face, they never stop. So eat a high calorie diet with at least 80% of your calories coming from carbohydrates, and minimum 80% of your calories coming from carbohydrates. So high carbohydrates, that ensures that every day we wake up and our glycogen stores are topped up. And that's what keeps motivation high for active lifestyle. Because people say, Harley, you exercise a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I exercise a lot because I eat so many carbohydrates. I don't exercise so I can eat. I eat so I can exercise, because exercise is fun, man. I just came back from a 3-hour mountain bike ride. Loving it, man. But when you undereat, you can't do things like that. You can't hang out. You can't be passionate. You can't pull all-nighters with no drugs. You need stimulants to stay awake all night if you're undercarb. So I like to chow down the carbohydrates, fruit being my preference. Your preference might be rice, millet, quinoa, spelt, wheat, whatever. My preference is fruit. Why? For me as an athlete, it works better. I get more mental clarity, it digests better. I've got more, on the bike I can put out more wattage, more watts per kilogram, because you're weighing a little bit less, but you still got your power because you've got your glycogen stores up. So for a cyclist and a runner, that's really good. If you're a sumo wrestler, I wouldn't recommend eating fruit, because you're just going to get, too trim, too lean. So that's my advice to people. Don't cut your calories to get your ideal weight. Get your ideal weight from training and a high calorie diet. Eat as many calories from carbohydrates as you care for. Unlimited amount of calories. And limit the fat intake, limit the protein intake. So, protein coming from fruits and vegetables is easy to not get too much. But once people start eating animal products, the kidneys have to get called in to dilute and process the extra protein, and that really takes your motivation away from your training. That's why a lot of athletes who eat a lot of animal products, they have to use more and more and more caffeine and stimulants and salbutamol and testosterone, all these stimulants to keep them going, because the body's just ready to shut down. So that's my recommendation, is Keep your calorie intake very, very high. I say minimum 3,000 calories. You know what I mean? Which is, it's hard to get people to eat that much because they figure, oh, I'm fat and I don't want to get fatter. And so you're not fat from eating 3,000 calories of fruit or 3,000 calories of rice. You're fat from all the junk you eat, all the dead animals you put in your stomach. Your stomach's not a graveyard of dead animals. You know, you put all the oils and greasy and fried foods in your body, and that makes you sedentary, and that's what makes you fat. It's not fruit, it's not rice, it's not potatoes, man. It's the fat we eat, it's the fat we wear. So people on high-fat diets eventually become fat. Sooner or later, they become fat. They become burnt out. You know, a lot of them become emaciated, binge-prone, depressed, and, you know, freaking out. And then eventually they just burn out and blow out the kilos. I mean, how many people do you know over age 25 who are fit and trim? Who aren't struggling to maintain their fitness? I know people who are just on the edge, man. You know, on the edge of just blowing out, man. Burning out because they're just not looking after their bodies. They're cutting their calories, they're using heaps of stimulants, and not sleeping enough or whatever. And they're just on the edge. So my advice is whatever diet you're eating, eat bucket loads of carbohydrates. And try and get rid of the animal products. It's the biggest thing you can do is get rid of the animal products. And once you get rid of the animal products, focus on getting your fat intake down, your carbohydrate intake up. And that's the thing. It's not deprivation, it's not starvation, because when you're full of fruit or full of rice and potatoes, you don't want the other junk. It's as simple as that. When you're hungry, your standards drop. When you're hungry, your standards drop. So all these Weight Watchers programs and that, they get results of people, but then they come back a year later or 6 months later because it doesn't work. Because all they do is they put them on another starvation plan, and when the person's discipline runs out, the body goes, hey, we're taking over, and we're just going to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until we, get some calories in us. So people are eating, a donut, and it's over 60% of the calories coming from fat. So they're trying to get a little bit of sugar for their glycogen, and they're getting heaps of fat. And then these add up over the time. People eat a burger for maybe 10 grams of simple sugars on the burger, and a little bit of the starch on the bun, and they're getting all this fat and excess protein in the form of dead animal flesh and oils and animal fat. So the body just wants to run on carbohydrate. So what I recommend to people is take advice from people getting the results you desire. You know what I mean? Like, I just come back from a 3-hour mountain bike ride. I feel amazing. Never have to watch my weight. Eat as much as I want. Every meal, just slam it down. I eat slow. I don't, guzzle it, but I guzzle slowly. You know what I mean? So I get people telling me all the time, Harley, you're eating too much food. You're eating too much food. And then other people, or sometimes the same people go, but you're too thin. You're too thin, Harley. You need to put some weight on, mate. So it's like, hang on. I'm eating too much, but I'm too thin. Like, what's going on here? So people go, yeah, I guess. I guess. And it's like, yeah, why are people so confused? Because we've been conditioned by the billion-dollar weight loss industry to starve, and then you binge, slap all your pounds on, and you're freaking out. So you look for more weight loss products. The last ones didn't work, and then the same people that sold you that product, 6 months later, they've got a new product line out, and they'll sell you that one. And then that doesn't work, so another 6 months. You know what I mean? It's just like, basically the secret of the weight loss industry is get people to feel guilty for eating carbohydrates. And when they're guilty eating carbohydrates, they'll get so hungry, they'll just eat whatever in the end. And then they'll slap on more weight, and then they'll come back to you. So it's like a boomerang. It's such a good way to make money. But, I've seen people die, commit suicide, go insane, become obese, have heart attacks and cancer. So what I recommend people do is to start chowing down on as much carbohydrate foods as you can. Get rid of the animal products, get rid of the oil, get rid of the excess fats, you know what I mean? Carbohydrates, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when you're sick of carbohydrates, eat some salad. But just as much as you care for. So, a lot of people watching my channel, they're into fruit, they're into raw foods. So, what's the best source of carbohydrates? What's the healthiest source? Fruit, sweet fruit, bananas, mangoes, lychees, jackfruit, mamey, all those things. Grapes, mangoes, mandarins, citrus, melons. I like the bananas and the dates because they're high calorie. People say, I don't want high calorie foods, I want low calorie foods. I want, fills me up, not many calories. That doesn't work. Then you get hungry later on. It fills you up for now, and then later on you're in the pantry looking for something else. So a week later you're like, I can't do this thing, I'm starving, I'm full, but I'm starving. So we want the high calorie fruits, and if you're not into raw food, I recommend a vegan diet, high carbohydrate, so as much rice, pasta, potatoes, quinoa, millet, spelt, kamut, amaranth, all these little grains and potatoes and starches and tubers. Eat as much as you care for of those. You will not get fat eating carbohydrates. If you were, I'd be obese. And people say, Harley, but you exercise all the time. It's like, well, a few years ago, I got hit by a bus, and I couldn't train, as much as I wanted to train. So I had to take a few years off racing. What happened to my body weight? Stayed pretty much the same, plus or minus 10%. So why? Because I eat a very high carbohydrate diet all the time. I keep my fat intake low. So and I've been vegan for 9 years. So being a vegan just makes things a lot easier, because you don't have to deal with all the animal products and all that fatty, greasy, hormones stuff, saturated fats and all that excess cholesterol and things like that, uric acid, and all these things add fluid to the body. So that's why I like a lot of athletes, especially cyclists and runners. They're not even vegan or vegetarian, but they're cutting out animal products before big races. Like Steve Monaghetti and Rob DiCostello and all the runners, they would cut out the dairy products before a big race to be lighter, to be able to breathe better, so their power-weight ratio goes up. I know Cadell Evans recently, I read on his website that he stopped drinking dairy so he can keep a little bit lighter. So he drinks soy milk instead. It's quite interesting, So when athletes are doing these things and they don't care about the environment, they don't care about ethics, they don't care about their health, they just want to perform better. So when they're doing that something's right, you know what I mean? It's not just a hippie movement. So so getting back to the subject, if you want to drop the kilos, man, eat as much carbohydrates as you can. I recommend fruit, because fruits just digest great, it tastes great, it's satisfying, it's nutrient dense, it's digests a treat. So if people got celiacs or gluten intolerance, boom, hit the fruit. Fructose malabsorption, what about that, Harley? Well, all the studies I've ever read, recently in the Huffington Post, one was popularised, Dr. McCullough and all the snake oil salespeople, I should say. They talked about, fructose malabsorption, and it's bad for you, it gives you cancer. And it's like, all these studies are done. And they're done using bananas, or they're done using genetically modified high fructose corn syrup. Yes, when you're having genetically modified foods and you're putting them into the human organism, the human body doesn't recognise it, so of course it's going to create an allergic response. So people are saying, you can't eat fruit because fruit's got fructose in it, and we did a test with genetically modified Monsanto, dextrinized, rodenticide, insecticide, pesticide, suicide, uticide, genocide, high fructose corn syrup, and it made people sick. So if you eat organic banana or some strawberries or some peaches, mangoes, melons, bananas, whatever, you'll get cancer. So what we'll do is we'll take all the nutrients out of the fruit, throw the fruit away, and we'll sell you in a little plastic bottle, $60 for all your vitamins and minerals, and you don't get all the fructose nasties from the fruit. What? It doesn't make any sense, but it makes a lot of dollars. So, you know what I mean? What are you going to do? Judge by results, not by theory. How come all these quack snake oil salespeople, how come they're never fit? You know what I mean? And the ones who are a little bit fit, how come they're doing human growth hormone? I mean, it's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? Someone's got a full grey head of hair and they're just just looking like Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man, come on. It's so, and then they're doing one photo. And you never see them the rest of the year. You never see a live YouTube video of them or something like that. You see just one photo on their internet site where they've just pumped up, fasted for a week just to be super ripped and taking some diuretics, and people go, look at that. That's what they look like all the time. And it's like, hey, I'll tell you now, it's not. It's not. So my advice is eat as much carbohydrates as you care for. Fruit always being the ultimate. Failing that, if you don't want to be a fruit bat, or you have a whole food carbohydrate sources, get rid of your oil, get rid of the animal. Read books like The Heart Attack Proof by Dr. Esselstyn, The McDougall Plan by Dr. McDougall, Reversing Diabetes by Dr. Neil Barnard. Because people say, Harley, but all these carbohydrates, you're getting type 2 diabetes soon. It's like, well, look at my blood sugars on YouTube. Read that book I just mentioned, Reversing Diabetes by Dr. Neil Barnard, and you'll see that all these clinical studies. I mean, people like McCullough and that, they're like saying, well, the China studies, well, this and that. You got bloggers. You got bloggers trying to debunk the China study. You know what I mean? China study, over 700 corroborating studies support it. It's the world's most comprehensive nutritional study ever done. And Dr. Campbell's published over 350 studies. And you got people like McCullough, never published a single study, ever. You got some bloggers out there going, well, I object to, I'm not too sure about that. I don't know. I'm not even at university, but I think it maybe it's, I don't know. It's like, give us a break, mate. You know what I mean? If you don't think the China study's any good, do a more comprehensive nutritional study.